Hello everyone, sorry my last one got cut off. I'll try and make this as short as possible. So to round it all out, the 4 tips to teaching difficult literature in the classroom. It was a really good resource that highlighted hitting as much of the senses as possible and making the books as easy to understand. It was created out of the need for increased rigor in the literature in classrooms, which led to more controversial issues presenting themselves in the text as the books got longer and more difficult to read. They started bringing up topics that were deemed more suitable for older audiences, but that doesn't mean that they were not suitable for children. Specifically, books that were read in high school that maybe 7th and 8th graders could read, and they were topics that definitely warranted being discussed. The teacher said that she never wanted to hear that students hate a book. So there was a book that she read, I believe it was also To Kill a Mockingbird, and it took them 10 weeks to read it, and everyone said that by the time that they were done, she heard in the hallways that students hated the book. They didn't want to read it, they didn't want to do anything with it, they were tired of it. And so she gave 4 tips to make books easier for students to understand and easier for classes to read, understand, and move on with. So the first step was to look for an abridged version. So I know that whenever our classes were reading Shakespeare, we had the original text and a simplified text next to it. But an abridged version, you can look for a shorter version that still hits all the main points, but maybe takes out some of the fluff. So if you're reading Les Mis, you could look for an abridged version that doesn't include all the scenery and setting that could be important, but it can also cause students to lose interest very quickly. You could look for a graphic novel version. They are starting to become way more popularized now than they were a few years ago. It makes students who maybe are not as fast readers. I know that I certainly wasn't a very fast reader as a kid. It allows them to still get the same content while having less words, but they have an extra visual element. Or you could use a movie for visual connections. I know that a lot of my teachers in school, we would read the book and watch a movie. So that way we had that backup source for what exactly was happening, for maybe things we missed in the book. And then we could make comparisons between the movie and the book. And the last one is you could bring in an audiobook section. So it's more than just reading the text. If you leave students to silent read the whole book, or if you read a large majority of it, they're going to get really bored. But if you can bring in an author reading, or several different authors, or several different actors even reading the book, then it can add that extra element that gets students excited about reading it. So this all helps because these books have difficult topics, and that if you can make them simpler to read and understand, then it is going to be a lot easier to talk about them because students may have a greater understanding of the topic as a whole, so that you can go into the deeper issues that lie beneath them. So that is going to conclude my presentation. I'm sorry it's a little long, and I'm sorry it was split into 2 parts, but I hope you guys have a great rest of your week and a great rest of your year.